we basically provide partnerships to each other. We share opportunities with each other. We build consortiums with each other. In effect, we do everything it takes to actually ensure that we can all succeed. How Melanin Rich facilitates this is by providing opportunities like today, so opportunities to learn from each other and to network with each other. We also provide training opportunities. So we've got our monthly bootcamp sessions where we deep dive into a specific business area and workshop it with our members. We also work quite closely with a few capital providers to introduce our members where they are ready for funding. Then we introduce our members to obtain funding that way. Like I mentioned earlier, we make connections between our members so that they can partner with each other. We have recently started also putting contract opportunities on the website for our members. So that might be a way to expand your business. We also help you remember to focus on yourself. So think about your own personal wellness, because if you don't have your health, then very unlikely to be able to achieve your dreams. So those are the sorts of things that we do. And without taking too much of your time, I will ensure that we put a link to our website in the chat and also a link to our LinkedIn page on the chat as well. So you can find out more if you are not already a member. Today, we have two very special speakers with us. We have Ruby. Ruby Golo is a market entry specialist, and she has worked with UKATI. She has worked for herself. She has helped dozens of businesses, both with exporting and also with market entry. And she's got a great presentation today to help us to work out how to ensure that we do the right things when we're trying to move into a new country or a new territory. So Ruby's going to talk us through that. And we also have Avita. Avita is the founder of AFI, and it is a platform that allows seamless trade between merchants, currently focusing on the West African coast, but who knows where it will go in the future. The benefit of that is that it goes beyond allowing people to trade with each other. It also starts to create data that you can show to potential investors to show you how you're trading, and therefore makes it easier to invest in you. So these are the two speakers we have today. I'm going to share some slides for Ruby, and then Ruby will talk us through what we need to do to get into new markets. So just bear with me a second whilst I get the slides up. Okay, I hope people can see the slides now. Fantastic. Okay, Ruby, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ola, for the opportunity to present to your group today. Hello, everyone. Really nice to connect with you all today, and thanks so much for the kind introduction. If you permit me, I'll go off camera whilst I go through my slides. Thank you. Global trade has changed. Many more companies are crossing borders than ever before. It is obvious that international trade and globalization are today's most exciting opportunities. As an international trade expert with more than 2 decades of advising businesses on doing business internationally, I would like to share a few slides on how you can expand into global markets. You must first of all have the courage, ambition, confidence, inspiration. Hello, Moto. My apologies. Sorry, I should have turned off my So sorry for that interaction. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay. So, like I said, you first of all have to have the courage, ambition, confidence, inspiration, ideas on how to start this new journey. Ask yourself which country holds opportunities for your product and services through market research. You can conduct a dex research using various tools such as Google, AI, etc., to gather data. But the best approach will be to consult an expert to help you. So, starting with my first slide, you need to get prepared. For me, going international requires serious preparation by the entire workforce. Your company must invest time in things like learning new languages, cultural regulations, and the impact of time zones on communications. If you can plan to visit the country you have in mind and connect with people on the ground, do it and not underestimate the importance of personal contact and seeing how things work on the ground in a new market with your own eyes. Talk to people who already are doing business there and learn from their experiences so you don't repeat the same mistakes. Tell yourself you are well prepared for the adventure without having the needed experience and just go fully for it. Next slide. Collaboration is the future. There is strength in working together with other partners, so build good business relationships. You do not have to go international on your own. Plan to use local partners on the ground, such as distributors, agents. Whatever approach you finally adapt, successful international business is largely dependent on the right network, business partners, and contacts that you build. Initiatives like joining export clubs, chamber of commerce, other trade association, and business groups such as Melanin Reach can be a great starting point for you. Next slide. Plan and communicate. For me, you need to set goals. The question you must ask yourself is, what exactly does your business want to accomplish in what time scales? What are your planned KPIs for measuring progress? And perhaps most importantly, how and when are you going to communicate with potential partners in different time zones? Plan your visits in well advance. For example, a visit to a factory, a warehouse, farms, to gain more knowledge in your industry is helpful. A sure way is to get your company sign up to any international trade shows, exhibitions, expos organized in your selected countries, usually by local embassies, foreign chamber of commerce operating in your country, and any other government agencies that have upcoming events that you can attend. Next slide. Compliance. Um, be fully aware of all the relevant rules and legislation of the country you are interested in trading with. For example, does the Food and Drug Authority of that country have the same export and import regulations for your type of product? Do you have knowledge of customs procedures, requirements on handling imports and export of goods? Or are you going to outsource? And if so, with whom? What about rules of labeling of your products? What are the regulations and the quality that you must meet? You must go in search of expert advice to ensure you are well covered when it comes to business critical issues. To export Ghanaian products, for example, a sure place to get a useful information would be to talk to the Ghana Export Promotion Authority and other related agencies. So you find the equivalent agencies in your country and talk to them. Getting good legal advice is also key. So you make sure you discuss draft business agreements with your lawyer and get them to understand your plans and the type of business relationships you are planning on signing with your potential partners. We are seeing a lot of commercial disputes these days simply because people have not taken their time to actually draft proper contracts. So if you can avoid these conflicts, it will go a long way to help you to go into new markets. Next slide. Take the risk. Entrepreneurship is all about taking risks. That said, for some risks, you might prefer not to take if it involves managing challenges over long distances. It is therefore important that you perform appropriate risk assessments for the new business activities. What exactly are the threats and how can you or will you react when they come up? These are questions that you need to seriously ask yourself if you are looking to expand to new markets. Next slide. In conclusion, I would like to highlight some don'ts. Don't assume you can just do business like you do at home. Things work differently when you go to different locations. You have to embrace the fact that you will be working with different cultures. Take a deep dive into what that involves, how that influences business and other cross-cultural communication as well. Think about demographic factors too. For example, age, how it affect the kind of product or services you've got on offer. You should also think of technology. Is a country as progressive and innovative as yours? Will they be interested in your kind of product or services? These are all things that you need to pay attention. Just to give a practical example, colors, the choice of color can actually cause quite a number of issues. Using the wrong color for your product can be perceived positive or negatively. So do double check what works best in the market that you want to enter. To give an example, in China, you must avoid the use of white and blue on your business cards as it is associated with death and mourning. And in India as well, it is black and white. So do take note of these things and be sure of what you want to do before you go to that particular country. Don't be late. Please remember there is no excuse for lateness when doing business with foreigners. You must be punctual to meetings, acknowledge correspondence on time, and deliver your promises. Punctuality to foreign business partners is a sign of your seriousness and readiness to do business with them. Don't take it for granted. Think your product won't be duplicated. Imitators are sadly inevitable, with some countries more likely to present problems than others. For example, some countries are known for imitation, and I don't want to mention names here. It's very obvious, I believe. It is therefore important to protect your innovations by going for intellectual property rights. Then don't think logistics don't matter. Think about which transport is most suitable for a cost and time perspective. It could be air transport, it could be, shipment, whatever you choose, make sure you are getting value for your money. And then don't ignore politics. The political situation regarding some countries in recent times has escalated with tariffs, trade agreements being changed, Some have announced ban on countries and various commodities, whilst others have pronounced sanctions. As you cannot predict the future, please keep in mind that the political situation anywhere in the world will always remain relevant and can change rapidly in some countries. So stay updated on current news. I do hope that these tips will go a long way to making you successful in your step to crossing the border to other countries. And as previously mentioned, if you want to go international, do your homework first and go for it. Chances are you may land a good deal that can turn your business around. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruby. Thank you.
And of course, you have my contact details at the end of the slide if any of you would like to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby. Thank you. I will open the floor for questions. Let me stop sharing so I can see people's hands as they put them up. And while people are thinking about their questions, I do have one question. You talked about getting legal advice when you are looking to go into a new territory. I was wondering, should you be looking for the legal advice where you currently are? Should you look for something in the new territory, or do you need both?
It can be both, but I'll prefer that you go for somebody who is in country because they better understand their jurisdictions and what applies. So you are better informed of what works and what wouldn't work. So yes, you can go for both, but I will insist that you depend on the local legal advice.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Do we have other questions? You can just put your hand up or you can start talking. I'm not seeing any questions. So you must have been extremely clear, Ruby, which is fantastic.
I'm glad to hear that.
Okay,
Please don't be shy. Let the questions come in.
exactly. Um, well, perhaps people will think about their questions as they listen to Evita. Evita is going to tell us about the AFI platform and how it facilitates international trade and also how it facilitates other types of growth within businesses. So over to you, Evita.
Thank you, Ola, for this opportunity, and hello, everyone. My name is Evita Grant. I feel like I'm more of a technologist. So I think my thoughts and guidance today is more about taking advantage of existing technologies to help you with global trade. I've always been very fascinated about trade. I feel like, born and raised in Ghana and then going to school in the US and working in the US, there are a lot of things that I'll bring from back home or from other African countries. And I'd realize that, a lot of Americans would be like, oh, I like this. Where can I get that? And it could be a dress, a bag, jewelry, spices. There are a lot of things. I've always been very bullish about made in Africa or goods made by Africans and the market opportunity that exists. That said, I realized very quickly that there really isn't an ecosystem that exists for small businesses owned by Africans to really plug into compared to our other foreign counterparts. And coming from a tech ecosystem, I thought the technology can really help small businesses bridge that gap. And that's why I've been working on two major brands, Afi Payments Platform, with the goal to help small businesses that are unbanked or underbanked be able to do global trade payments, send and receive payments, as well as Mansa Market, which is an e-commerce platform in development to really showcase made in Africa goods so that we can have direct to consumer sales as well as wholesale B2B sales. Um, so with that perspective, in terms of my experience as a founder and obviously trying to build and help other small businesses grow and compete globally, there are a couple of things that I wanted to share in addition to what Ruby shared. Ruby had a lot of great gems, and I'm just going to add to that. I think that one of the things that I would say from a technology perspective is that today trade is primarily digital, it's online. And so for a lot of small businesses, you have to think very carefully about your online presence or your digital presence and your digital footprint. What do I mean? I mean that I'm talking about things like even your email. I've worked with small businesses where they're using their personal email addresses for business activities. That can be a red flag, especially because people are not used to, people want to um, do business and trade with what they feel like are established businesses. And when you start using your personal email addresses, that can be a red flag because it's like you might not come across as a serious business that needs to be taken seriously and wants to do trade. So online presence is really important. I'm talking about having a proper business email account. One of the things that I always recommend is if you use Gmail, Google has Workspace for businesses. It's one of like, it feels like the same, but it's for businesses. Explore that. Try and have a website, even if it's a landing page where it's just like a high level overview that people can scroll. It can make a big difference when someone wants to do business with a small business and they want to go online and see if they're legit. We have a lot of scammers in this day and age. And so it's something that a lot of people, when they're doing due diligence on, I want to do trade with this business, what is their online presence? Take advantage of social media, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, whatever it is. Figure out what your business is and what platform will help differentiate you. Again, online presence is really key in terms of being able to kind of portray yourself as a serious established business that is ready to do global trade. And I see this very often, especially when I'm working with small businesses in Africa, primarily in Ghana and Togo, who have exceptional products, but their online presence is really weak. And it makes it really hard to be able to kind of advocate for you because it feels like a one person show with a personal email address. So I think one of the things that I'll say is that if you're trying to trade globally, really pay attention to your online presence, take advantage of tech freelancers that you can find on Upwork or Fiverr or online, people who can really help you try and carve out a real narrative online to make sure that you come across as credible and trustworthy. The second point that I want to share is when you're thinking about doing trade across borders, I think it's really important to also decide whether you want to go a direct to consumer route or a B2B wholesale route. These are two different processes, trade processes. And you could do both as well. But I think that it's really important to understand if you want to sell directly to the consumer. That's what I mean by direct to consumer DTC, because that process and that way of doing trade globally is slightly different from whether you want to do B2B, whether you want to sell to another retailer or to another kind of company that might use your products in terms of their manufacturing processes. The way you actually partner do kind of operate those two different business approaches are very different. So I think you also need to ask yourself which one works for you. And you could do both as well. But I think it's really important because direct to consumer can mean, hey, you just go online, create a Shopify website account and get going. Or it could mean you can go and create an account on Etsy. Now we have even very African focused brands like Jumia, I think is one of them, or Anka or Ankara. Yeah, there are a lot of marketplaces, but it's the idea is like it's a direct to consumer marketplace. You kind of create your own digital store, and then you get going. Whereas B2B might mean that you have to go to trade shows, right? You might have to go to these big trade events. It tends to be more of like a relationship building activity. So the sales cycle is very different, and you need to have a different approach to that. So I think it's really key when you're thinking about global trade, which one you want to focus on. The third thing that I would also want to say is that partnerships. When you're a small business, you have such limited resource. Don't try and build everything from scratch. The good thing about technology is that I can tell you that there's someone out there who's built something that you can just plug into and can get you going, right? I know that sometimes you want to dream big and you're thinking about the end game, but sometimes you just need to think about, what do I need today to get me to the end of the year? And then at the end of the year, you figure out where you are, and then you think of the next step. As I said, there are a lot of existing tools, resources, partnerships, global platforms that exist for you to take advantage of. So when because as Ruby mentioned, there's a lot of compliance associated with trade and legal stuff associated with trade. And as I say that, I'm also a lawyer and I'm actually an intellectual property attorney. And so these are things that really exist. But I think that when you're starting, when you have such a limited resource, it just might be you and a couple of contract workers. You don't have a lot of time, you don't have a lot of money. Don't try and do too much at one go. That's why I think it's really important to think about what kind of technology platforms exist, whether it's Shopify, Etsy, that you can use that to start going, or even B2B retailers. Maybe you might want to find some African store, mom and pop store in a certain city or town that you can work with if you want to do B2B. So you kind of send them goods on and go there and grow from there. Because that would make your like starting and growing a little bit easier. You don't want to try and do too much at the very beginning. And I think the last point I'd like to add is differentiate your products and services from what's out there in the market. I always tease and say that I think in the US, marketing is what makes and breaks a product. The product in of itself is not really what's going to make or break the sales. It's really marketing. And there's a lot that goes into it, right? In terms of storytelling, the narrative, how to differentiate it from the other products. So that so for example, when you go to a retail store and you're like, I'm looking to buy a bar of soap, you're going to realize that there's so many options available to you. It's overwhelming. And if someone hasn't heard of your brand, they're not going to pick you. They're going to pick the one that they've heard. So the ability to get to your target clients and being able to make sure that you are in their head, so that when they go and into the markets and they see you, they're like, oh, I remember this. I want to try it. That's really key. Marketing. And I think, take advantage of even understanding the basics of marketing, because I feel like that is something that, I mean, as I said, growing up in Ghana, you kind of have a lot of sales that are relationship based. And so this idea of marketing doesn't seem as strong. But in international trade, you're going to have so much competition. Your marketing is what is going to differentiate someone to say, okay, I want to try this product, because chances are there are other similar alternatives that people who are spending a lot of money to get in front of them. So think about your marketing strategy in terms of how to get in there. And now with AI and all of these tools, they're fun, techie ways to create something that is totally crazy, seems out there, but it's memorable, right? Like that's what you want, is for people to remember that your product exists. So I think that taking some time to think about how you're going to differentiate your product or service so that it's memorable, so that your target clients are going after it, is really key in terms of doing international trade. And so with that, those were the key points I wanted to share with you. And I'll stop here, and Ruby and I are here to answer your questions. We have so many people here, so maybe you might have very business specific things that are specific to your business, and we can give you some guidance on how to move forward.
Thanks so much, Avita. That was fantastic, especially the bit around marketing and actually making sure people know your brands, understand your brand. Otherwise, they just won't pick you. There was a question actually just came in when Evita started talking. So I think the question is for Ruby. Do you need any incorporation in the new country?
Okay, thanks for that question. It all depends on the type of business you are into and the size. You don't necessarily need to incorporate a local entity in a new market. You can actually ride on the back of a local partner if you want to save costs and do a trial before you eventually expand. So, like for us, for instance, we do represent quite a number of international companies in Ghana. They didn't have to set up an entity, so they are riding on our back as their local rep to deliver products or services on their behalf. So you can use that route. But if you think you have the deep pocket or the budget to properly set up, then go for it. Otherwise, there's no need if you can find a distributor, an agent, or a local rep on the ground. Hope that helps.
I'd like to add to what Ruby said, and I think that if you're thinking of incorporating, you have to have a reason why, because incorporating another country also comes with a whole set of requirements in terms of taxes and things like that. So it needs to be a benefit for you. One thing that I like to throw out there is that it's very easy to incorporate in the US as an existing entity. And the thing that I like people to consider is that if you incorporate in the US, it makes it very easy for you to open a business bank account. One of the biggest issues that I've seen a lot of business, especially when you talk about building a payment platform, is like they might be based in Africa, but they're trying to use PayPal, and then they're having struggles because they can't use their bank accounts in Africa with PayPal or with Spotify and some of these platforms. One of the kind of like the things that you can basically use to your advantage is basically create a US entity and use that US entity to be able to get a bank account, maybe even get a business credit card and have like kind of like a virtual entity in the US. And there are a lot of tools to do that where you don't actually need to physically be in the US. That said, it also means that you have to report income and you might have to pay taxes. So you have to weigh the pros and cons and talk to a corporate attorney to make sure that it's set up well so that it meets your business goals and it's not burdensome.
I'm seeing a question here from David. So he says, if I understood you well, you mentioned that you need to use available resource to start yourself off, not to start one by yourself. David, I don't know whether you want to add or
Yeah.
to add. You're on mute if you're talking.
Um, I mean, okay, so yes, that's what I'm trying to say that David, again, it's very business specific. But what I'm trying to say is that, yes, we live in a time where there's so many technological tools at your disposal that before you start building from scratch, try and do your research to identify if there's an existing resource that you can tap into, right? So remember I talked about online presence. Sometimes if you're just selling a product, it might, instead of maybe trying to build a website from scratch, it might be easier for you to go on Etsy, right? And kind of sell your products on Etsy. The reason why it could make a difference is this. When you build your website from scratch and trying to sell directly through your website, now you have to direct people to come to your website. So going back to marketing differentiation, it's a completely different process. But when you start off with a platform like Etsy that already has a community of users and people that are already coming in to search, then it's more about how do you make sure that if someone is looking for your product, the way you set up your online store is it shows up really well on the search within Etsy. So there are pros and cons to selling directly from your website and building it from scratch versus selling directly on Etsy or selling directly on Amazon. I forgot to even mention that. Going directly on Amazon, because if you think about it, Amazon has like now people, when they're buying stuff, they go to Amazon to search first, right? And so these are the things that I'm trying to say, that there are times when maybe if you have a new product, depending on what your product is, trying to see if there's an existing platform or marketplace that already has clients that come to shop for products that are similar to there. And maybe you start there to get the ball rolling. And then later on, if you decide that I want to own my own distribution channel, I want to build a website, then you go from there. That's what I mean by in terms of looking for available resources to kind of get you going, and reducing the requirements that you need at the very beginning.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, David? You might not be able to talk.
Okay.
We've got another question from, he's types that it does answer this question, so he's happy. Yeah. Ngozi has asked, do you ladies have any advice for people selling non-physical products and want to go global?
So clarification, non-physical products, are you talking at things like digital products?
I'd imagine so, or maybe services. Ngozi, feel free to talk. Yeah.
Yes, digital products and services.
Okay. So I recently discovered a platform called, there are a couple of platforms called Gumroad, and I'll just pop them in there. Let me look them up. But these are, again, platforms that are built for digital products, selling digital products. So you might want to take advantage of those, depending on what your digital product is. Again, you might want to see if, so for example, if it's more like a learning product, then you might want to take advantage of platforms like Udemy and some of those like online tutorial platforms where people go online to learn. But in terms of digital kind of platforms, if you go online and search like SaaS, SaaS, e-commerce platforms on Google or any of these AI tools, you should be able to come across them. One that I've heard of is Gumroad, and I'm dropping that in the chat. And then there's another one called Lemon Squeezy that was recently bought by Stripe. So I think that it's just a matter of doing research, especially if because now that's something that is also quite big, is the like non-digital, like freelancers, content creators, people who have expertise and want to sell. There are a lot of platforms for that. So do your research to see which of these platforms make sense for your business and go with that.
Thank you. Okay. We have
Thank you.
another question. Sorry, Ngozi, was there anything else you'd like to ask on the back of that?
No, I was just saying thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Can I add on to what Evita said? I think that if you have services that you want to offer to the international world, you should be intentional. Like she said from the beginning, your presence, even in this room, there's opportunity for you to partner, network, and build new relationship. I don't see people even using the chat box. I am expecting that you can pop in your contact details, put in few lines of what you are into so people in the room can appreciate who you are. You'll be surprised.
Yeah.
People do save these chats. I am in the habit of saving these chats, and I've gotten a lot of business out of just attending online events and popping on my contact details in the chat. I at the time I'm speaking with you, from Michigan, US. But when I was in Ghana during the lockdown, I tend to attend a lot of virtual events on Zoom. And I made it a habit to put my details in the chat. And I got so many, projects from the UK, Germany, and I never had to travel to those countries. And I had clients reaching out to me. Oh, we met you on this Zoom call. We pick up your details. We're looking to do this market research, or we're looking for these partners in Ghana. And that was it. So please take advantage. Once you make time to come to these events, put your details on. Maybe you can draft a nice Zoom profile, keep it somewhere. Anytime you're online, you share it with others, and you'll be surprised what business you can get from that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ruby. Absolutely right. You just do not know who
Who's
is
in the
with you. And in fact, it's not just who is online with you, it's who they know. Because they might not necessarily need your product, but tomorrow they're talking to somebody and that person says, oh, I need this. And think, oh, yes, I heard that person talking about that. And, all of a sudden, that's a new piece of business. So fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. We've got a question here from Frank. My agency, Design AI Solutions, is dedicated to crafting custom generative AI solutions that empower businesses and organizations to achieve their full potential. We want to go east. So I guess that's the question, but feel free to add to that, Frank. Okay, Frank hasn't come off mute, but any advice on how he can go east?
I think it's more tech related, so I'll throw it to Evita.
I'm assuming when he says I want to go east, he's talking about Asia. Is that a fair assumption? I would say that I'm not as familiar with the Eastern market. And so this is why I think a lot of going back to looking at Ruby's presentation makes sense, because that is basically a new market territory where I think cultures and norms are really important. So that's a place where I think having a partner, potential partner who can help you go east is really critical, because I think that the information gap can be quite huge, right? And so you need someone to help you. And so I think that kind of doing your due diligence, trying to avoid any fraudsters or scammers, and trying to find a partner who can help you. Because as Ruby said, that like in so many ways, the East is like Africans. They have very specific cultural norms that it's not something anyone will tell you, but you can show up and it's like you have the wrong color, you don't refer to people in the right way, you don't do things a certain way, and it can be off-putting, and you'd be like, why didn't this proceed? So I think that if you're thinking about I want to go east and I want to go into a market which is completely different territory for you, having the right partner to help you navigate this is the best way to go.
Thanks, Vita. I see another question, and this one's from David. How can I solve the chicken and egg problem? I have an app that is used by users of my merchants, but my merchants also need me to have users to do business. Is there a hack?
So, David, what it seems to me is that you're trying to build a marketplace where you have merchants that are selling goods and services, and you have consumers and users that are trying to buy. And I think, obviously building a marketplace from scratch is always very, very difficult. And so one of the things that I ask is that what exactly, maybe you might want to start off with picking one side of the marketplace and focus on building that side before you bring that other side on. So I think if you're talking about a marketplace, typically it's nice to have merchants and then kind of figure out a way to bring in their users to do that. But this is, I think, what is typically called in the tech space, like building a marketplace problem. I think and I always tell people that there's nothing new under the sun. Go online and do your research. There's so many companies that have built marketplace platforms. Classic example is Airbnb. They needed people to list their properties, and then they needed people to kind of, reserve those properties. And if you go and look at their origin story, they decided to help like the initial, they decided to focus on people listing their properties. And some of their very early days meant that they realized that people didn't know how to take great pictures of their listings to make it attractive for someone to actually reserve it. And so they would actually fly from California to New York and meet some of these people and help them take pictures and help them list it out, right? So I think that, David, if you're trying to build a marketplace, read about how people have solved it on both sides of the equation and think about what makes sense for your business.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not seeing any new questions in the chat yet. But I'm going to give people a chance to perhaps just speak up and ask anything that occurs to you. Okay. If there aren't any questions at this point, let's get to networking so we can apply some of the great wisdom that Ruby shared. We'd like you to just tell us about yourselves, please. Tell us your name, your business name, anything you think you've learned from today's talk, and anything that you feel would be helpful for you and your business at this stage, because who knows who we might ask or who we might know. So what I'll do is I'll just go around my screen asking people to tell us a bit more. If you are unable to talk, then please put something in the chat so I don't bother you too much. But I'll start right now with Ngozi. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself, please? Your name, your business name, and what help you would like.
Hi. Sorry, I have a screaming toddler here, so if you hear. So I'm a podcaster. I recently launched a podcast. I'm a published author. Um, I'm also a writer. I do freelance writing for magazines. I'm also a coach. I coach, I'm a women's fulfillment coach. Um, I help women, especially African women. I'm particular about African women, and of course, that's why Melanin Rich caught my attention when I saw them on LinkedIn. So I'm particular about helping African women who have just migrated, maybe within the last 5 years, because of certain challenges that I faced when I moved to the UK about 4 years ago, and I faced all kinds of challenges, so many, financial, academic, visa, all kinds of challenges, and I realized that when people move, and I'm talking from the perspective of an African, but I think it's a general thing, especially women, when you move, because of the challenges that you face, you forget the reason why you moved in the first place. And then you find yourself settling, you find yourself, doing all those shift work, get paid by the hour. You're working in a factory, you're working in a warehouse, you're doing a health care assistant job, and then you're just busy trying to pay the bills. And then you forget that you came into your new country with so much value. Some people came here with their masters already, and they came for another masters. Some people came with PhD, and they came to do masters after doing PhD. And then at the end of the day, they settle for doing care work or doing some kind of menial work. So I just want people to start to think. It's easy, so easy to shrink, allow yourself to shrink and stay back where you're not supposed to be. And so that's what I want to, try to help women, especially African women, to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ngozi. And please do put your contact information in the chat so that we can find you. Okay.
Sorry, one more thing. There's something that uh oh, can't remember her name. Ruby. Ruby said about networking online. I've always found online networking awkward, but Ruby just made it easy for me now. She just made it just, I don't know, just simplified it for me now. So I want to thank her for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Rosie, and thank you for your boldness in coming on stage to tell us about your business. Sadly, I can see that quite a number of people have left. I don't know, Ola, whether you scared them away.
I think it might be a network problem because it all
Network,
happened at
okay.
once. So I'm not sure where that happened, but I
Yeah.
suspect it's a network issue. But we are recording this and we will make it available to everybody that came, and it's going to be on the website, so people will still hear it. Great. Okay. I will move on to Tom. If you're there, Tom, do tell us a bit more about your business and how we might be able to help. Okay, maybe Tom cannot talk, so I will move on to Zachariah. If you can hear me, Zachariah.
Yes, yes, I could hear you well. Yeah,
Fantastic.
first, let's say I'm happy to be joining you today. And today I just took notes about the global trade. I've taken much time to listen. And I'm pleased to learn that the day-to-day technology is now what will be moving trade. And I'm also happy to understand that the legal frameworks are in line to make sure that the global trends are moving on well. For me, I'm Zakaria Mwangi. I'm in Kenya. I'm the founder of Zenja Organic Run Farms, organic farming company doing consultancy in food production in terms of organic food for health and for health stabilization in the world, fighting climate change. So I'm also happy to understand that networking through the internet is very important in terms of leveraging on former trends that took slow time to make business. So for me, I'm grateful for the presenters. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with us. I'm building the product as I build the marketplace. So see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Zachariah. Okay. I will move on to David. David, if you can tell us a bit more about what you do and anything that we can do to help. If you're speaking, you're still on mute. Okay, I will move on to Molly. Molly, can you tell us a bit more about your business and how we can support you?
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I'm a bit late.
Loving the hat.
Yes, so yeah, I'm working is very hot and I'm trying to keep cool. Yes, my name is Molly Shobola. I'm the founder of Share Class and DMAC International. Share Class is a skincare business. We're based in the UK. So what can you do for me? You can follow the brand on social media. You can buy our products for your family and friends, especially people who have dry skin and who have challenges around eczema, cirrhosis, and the likes. And in terms of DMAC International, DMAC is a diagnostic consultancy business where we help you to leverage according to your local needs in terms of diagnostic in non-communicable diseases, almost a community diagnostic center around respiratory, sleep, diabetes, and cardiovascular issues, which are very pertinent to the African community, whether in the homeland or across the globe. So please do, I can't, as you can imagine, I am working, so I can't actually type, but I'm sure Ola and the team will be very happy to point you in my direction if I can be of help or you can be of help to me. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And yes, it's been great. I know I was late. I tried to find the link, but I couldn't find it. And as I was about walking, I thought, I said, well, I'll still get in and say hello to everybody.
Thank you, Molly. Good to see you. Okay, great. Just looking to see who's left. Oh, Rama, you want to say anything?
Yeah, hi everyone. I hope I'm audible enough. So I just want to thank Evita and Ruby for joining us and also giving us your wise words. I really learned a lot on this session, and I'm looking forward to more engagements and also sharing the small knowledge I've learned from you guys. So thank you so much. And
Thank
everyone is welcome to Melanin Rich. So we are having a lot of things. So also follow us on our social media platforms, as well as the recording will be on the website, but I'll share an email with each and every person. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Great. Okay. And I'll also mention that I am a coach. I work with founders and business leaders who are trying to juggle the pressure that running a business puts on their own mental health and their own wellness. I help them both in terms of thinking about how and why they're building their business, and also in terms of what that means to their personal lives and how they can balance both and actually achieve their dream without burning out. So yeah, I do that. So if anybody needs some support, I'd love to help. And I think that is everybody that's online at the moment that has spoken. That said, actually, I lie because even though I introduced you both, Ruby and Avita, perhaps you could say a bit more about what you do, especially since it's recorded, just to make sure we all know enough. So, Ruby,
Evita, go ahead.
yes, please. Oh, well, okay.
So yeah, I kind of wear a couple of different hats. First is that I am a tech founder. I have a fintech platform that currently operates in Ghana and Togo with goals to expand within West Africa. And the goal is to basically digitize cross-border trade payments within the region. I also mentioned that I'm also a lawyer with a focus on intellectual property. So I definitely help a lot of small businesses as well as biotech companies with their IP strategy, protecting their IP assets, as well as monetizing that. And I'm currently working on like an e-commerce platform to bring more visibility to goods made by African founders. And so that's also meant to market. That's also in the works. So that's what I do.
Thanks, Avita. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so for my introduction, I run my consulting firm called Global Trade Consult. We help foreign companies to do business in Ghana. And because trade is not one way, it's two ways, we do help local Ghanaian companies go international as well. We basically tailor our services to meet the client's requirements. So it varies. It all depends on what you want to achieve and where you want to achieve those goals. My second hat that I wear is I'm the executive director of Global Chamber. It's a US-based chamber dotted across the world. We are in about 196 countries, and I look after the chamber in Ghana. And so if you want to know more and probably interested in coming along to one of our events, I'll be happy to invite you. Ngozi, I think we do have a authors series at Global Chamber. I will send an invite for the next section. I'm sure you'll be interested in that as well. So that's a bit about me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been wonderful having you here. We can see from the comments, there have been things like, I learned so much, awesome. Yeah, so really appreciated. This is what Melanin Rich is about. It's about going global. It's about expanding our horizons. And thanks for showing how it's done. We really appreciate your time and your interest. And thank you everyone that has attended, whether you got thrown off, God knows what happened there, or whether you've been able to stay with us to the end. Thanks for being here, and looking forward to seeing you again at our next event in the next month. Thank you, everyone, and speak
Bye,
soon.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having
Bye.
us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.